unless, like you mentioned, the tax, depreciation value comes into play, and that makes sense. Sometimes that 80,000, that's oh, no brainer. I'm going to pick that property up just to avoid 80,000. That there's my money right there. And
Right.
then you know what? I'm going to pass it on to somebody else or hold on to it for a couple of years, like Laris, and then do whatever, refinance in my own name. So I get it. Thank you guys so much. Really mean
Absolutely. We're glad you're here. We're glad we could help. All right. Well, hey, welcome everybody. We're glad you're here. Good to see all those faces on the camera. And yeah, Calvin, I think this is the first time I've seen you. Good to see you.
Yeah,
Lars, good
nice
to
to
have you
see you.
back. And
Yeah, I
of course,
was gonna say, I think we got
Benji's
a phone
always
call,
here.
but
What's that again, Calvin?
I was saying I think we hopped on a phone call maybe, but
Oh yeah, we've
could
been
be
on some
wrong
calls. We've
there.
been on some
So yeah,
calls
nice to
for
meet you.
sure. Yeah. Great. Well, hey, glad you guys are here. Tonight, we're going to kind of go back to basics. I don't know if you ever heard that story. The Green Bay Packers coach, first day of summer football camp, and he goes, "This is a football," right? Because sometimes we just have to go back to the very basic things and to understand the big picture. So I'm hoping to give you guys a snapshot of how these seller carryback deals work. Some people call them Morby Method. Some people call them stack method, but it's really just a seller carryback creative strategy for buying properties for zero down. So we're going to go through some basics, and then I think we have a couple of deals that we're going to look at. I know we got a couple of people who've reached out with some potential deals. We want to throw some numbers in the calculator and see if that makes sense, and show you guys how you can create an LOI really simply to get a seller on board and then submit your deals for funding. But hey, let's start off with some basics here. I'm going to try to share my image here. I hope this will work, and then we will go from there. So let me go to
And while he's doing that, I just want to
things.
ask if you are brand new to learning how to acquire a property using the Morby method, for those of you who are in Bases World like we are, or seller carryback financing, put a 1 in the chat if you are brand new and still trying to understand this acquisition strategy. So we have an idea of where you are. Thank you, Sam, for being fully honest. That first one, love that you jumped right in. Yeah, so put a 1 there, Isaac as well. Amazing. I don't know why I don't see Isaac on the screen though. What am I missing here? Anybody else see Isaac? I don't see Isaac, but there is a name. Oh, there you are. Never mind. Oh my gosh. Here's the thing, like so many squares, you got to make sure you're looking at like a square. Anyway, thanks, Isaac. I appreciate your honesty there. Perfect. We also have experienced investors in here. Lars just closed his first Morby with our team. So amazing. He bought a property there in Florida. Super stoked to be able to help him get that deal done.
Yeah, we're actually hopefully we'll have it ready by end of next week, so we can start renting it out. So we were pretty busy last 3 weeks or so. We had to do a number of things, put in new floors, paint it, new furniture, appliances, all of that. But
Yeah.
it's all coming together, and hopefully
Awesome.
by end of next week we'll be ready.
Awesome. Yeah, we can't wait to see
That's
pictures.
exciting. Yeah. We want to see pictures when it's all ready to rock and roll. That would be
Yeah,
fantastic.
definitely. Yeah.
Well, let me see if I can share my screen here and if this is going to be workable for us. Can you guys see that screen there with the crazy flow chart? Does everybody see that? Give me a thumbs up if you can see that. Okay, great. Benji can see it, I think, and everybody can probably see this. So I know this looks complicated. I'm going to try to simplify it a little bit here. So what first thing you notice is in these, we call them stack method because you're going to have two loans. You're going to have let me see if I can do I don't know if it lets me do that or not. Let's see. Yes, but there was a way to put myself over there too. Maybe not. Okay. So you'll notice one of the first things you notice is there's a lot of people involved in these deals, right? There's a lot of moving parts. Obviously, always start with the seller. a seller who has meets three conditions. The first is they have to have enough equity in their home that they could basically carry back enough to cover the down payment and closing costs. There has to be a brand new loan. That's where this DSCR lender comes in over here on the right. And there has to be, the seller has to agree to carry back a portion. As long as you have a new loan, a seller who has enough equity, and a seller who's willing to carry it back, a portion of their equity to cover the down payment closing costs, we can do this, all right, in most cases. So once you have the right seller, obviously you as the buyer, a lot of people are used to starting with a contract. We suggest that people start with an LOI, and we're going to show you tonight how you can quickly and easily generate an LOI ready to go so you can send that over to a potential seller. Now, we recommend, and Lars really had some great things to say a couple of weeks ago about how he communicates with potential sellers. And the most important thing I got from what Lars shared was you're really, the most important thing is to build a relationship with the person, right? You want to connect with those sellers. You want to build rapport. Don't just come right at them with numbers, right? Get to know them, find out why they're selling, try to find some common ground, make a connection. That just goes so far. People are much more willing to negotiate with you when they know, like, and trust you. So start with that, right, Lars? And then from there, we want to start, instead of starting with a contract, we want to start with an LOI, a letter of intent, because it outlines what we're trying to do with the seller carryback. It gives them an idea, maybe not the exact numbers, but hey, here's how much we're looking at for a sales price. Here's how much equity you have. Here's how much we'd like you to, here's how much you can get at closing. Like, you're going to get some of your money at closing, but here's how much you're going to get over time on the terms that we agree upon with the note. And so that's all that stuff can be outlined on a simple LOI. And if you sign that and they sign that, then we're on to step number 2, which is over here in the bottom right. You can see request funding. So you would send your signed LOI and the details of the property at our website. We'll show you where that happens. But then once that request is approved, then we're going to ask you to start taking some action. Set up a Relay account. A lot of people are like, well, how do you fund this? I don't get how it works. Do you send the money to escrow? We do, but the way we do it is you're purchasing LLC right down here at the bottom. The buyer is purchasing LLC. We have you set up a Relay bank account, and then you give us control of that account. And that way we can put money in there to take a snapshot for proof of funds. Then we can take the money back out. And then when it's time to close the deal, we can put the money in there. And then that money is coming directly from your LLC into escrow, right? So that's why we wanted you to get that Relay account set up, make sure we have the approval for the funding limits and everything else so we can have that all ready to go. Step 3, and this is probably one of the longest, and maybe this is where the work happens, right? We always say, buying property for 0 down isn't easy. It can be done, but if it was easy, everybody would do it. Who doesn't want to buy a property for no money down and actually, in most cases, put some money in their pocket at the end? But as Lars can attest, this is a long process. It takes time to find the right seller. It takes time to negotiate the deal. It takes time to get the lender in place. So we do provide a list of potential brokers that can lead you to a lender that will work for your deal, hopefully. And you may have to call more than one and submit several requests before you find the right lender that's going to work with our method to close the deal. Once you get the loan approved, well, at that point, that we've already got the team in play here. Our TCs will help you to draft up the details of the note, which will go to the attorney to get the final draft ready. Our TC team, our coordination team, is also going to help you to make sure that everything is legit, right? We want to make sure that we are doing everything by the book so that we don't have problems later on. So what we do is then they would help you get the contract, right? And with the contract, you would get that signed. Now, the key thing with the purchase and sale agreement contract is it doesn't say anything about a seller carryback. It's just a regular PSA, and that regular PSA would then get signed by the seller and the buyer, and it's separate from the note that's going to have all the terms of the seller carryback. Once we have all of those documents signed, you probably have some documents that you need to sign with our team, and we have some documents that the escrow, that the title company will need to sign off on, just so that we make sure that all the money is protected as the money flows around here. And then the attorney gets the note ready. So now we're ready to close. So we've got all the pieces in place. So here's how this works. On closing day, the DSCR lender would fund first, right? So they're going to fund escrow. Once their money is in, then we're going to move our money from our account into your relay account, and then from that relay account into escrow. So now all the money is there, and they have the purchase and sale agreement, which again says nothing about the seller carryback. It's just a simple purchase and sale agreement, which includes the money from the DSCR lender and the money from the buying LLC. When those funds are there and they see that, they're going to go ahead and close that deal. They're going to send, obviously, the seller is going to get a portion of their funds, right? In this case, it says 60% goes to the seller and 40% goes to the attorney. So if they own this property free and clear, and they have 100% equity, they in this case, they would get 60% in their pocket, and the other 40% gets sent over to the attorney. And then the attorney would send a note that would say, okay, so here's what you're going to get over time. You're going to get 35% because there's closing costs. So you're going to get the remaining 35% of your equity over time on the terms of the note right here. And then the attorney goes ahead and sends our money back to us. The down payment and the closing costs plus our fee come back to us from the attorney. And then any leftover money, okay, minus the attorney's fee, goes right back into your account as the buyer. And you guys, a lot of times, end up with money in your pocket at closing. So that's kind of an overview. And now that I've kind of gone through all of that, I'm going to stop sharing and see who has some questions for us. Anybody have any questions about how that works, the steps, how the money flows? Go ahead and unmute, or you can put something in the chat, either way.
Yeah, and if you're like feeling overwhelmed or you don't even know what to ask, just know it's perfectly normal not to know what to ask. And I know it actually it's really great. Thank you, Sam, for saying that. It's great
Thank you,
information.
Sam. Great
We'll
having you
catch you
here.
next time. Thanks for coming
Yes.
in.
Thanks for coming in. And we'll send you a replay so you'll get to see the rest, as well as some notes from the meeting. We always send out a Fathom note replay for you guys, so you won't miss anything. Thank you, Sam.
So maybe we should pull that back up for everybody, Tim, in terms of just the actual picture
Yeah,
of
sure.
the flow
I'll
of
pull it back
money.
up again.
And then you're welcome to unmute and go, I just don't get this part, or there's a lot of arrows happening everywhere. I get it. This is my husband's engineering brain working on this diagram. So it's a lot of information, right? But basically what you're looking for is a motivated seller who has a lot of equity, right? So how much equity? Well, normally we look at anywhere from 35% and up. So obviously the higher, the better, right? So if they have like 50% equity, that's great, right? If they have 60% equity, even better. So you're looking for a seller that has a lot of equity. You might want to mute on your end. I think I'm echoing now.
Okay.
So anyway, a seller has a lot of equity. Thank you. And then also you are looking for a very motivated seller. Now they have to be open to terms as well, right? That's part of a seller carryback, because what they're agreeing to do is to carry back some of their equity over time. So I'm trying to like dumb this down in like fifth grader language. I always think of something when I'm learning something new, like it needs to be like a fifth grader, right? You have to get try to get to understand just the basics. So Isaac has a question now. Go ahead,
Yeah, Isaac
Isaac.
has a question. Go ahead, Isaac.
Okay, so if you don't mind, maybe it'll
Yeah.
help that we kind of role play. I've got a deal right now I'm working with a partner on, and maybe I give you the real numbers, and if we could write on actually that your
Yeah,
diagram there.
yeah. Actually, what would be good is if you've got real numbers, we can put it in the calculator, and that way we can see if it makes sense.
But
Let me pull up the calculator here. So the way you
also
would
watch it move through.
hold on a second here. Let me yeah, and we can talk about it like that in terms of the flow. Um, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, sure. Let's do that. Let me go back. Where was I on here? Okay. I think I have. Okay. Let me pull that up again. Okay.
And so just give you a little background. This is coming from somebody I think that bought it pre-foreclosure or wholesale or got it at the auction. And so me and my partner are kind of deciding. When I'll use this as an example because I'm just going to trust my gut and say that I don't think it's a good deal right from the get-go from just my street smarts in the numbers just don't make sense to me. So if my math's not mathing, I want to confirm that through this. So
Right.
I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, we'll do it both ways. I like that, Isaac. So we're gonna go ahead. You tell me what you've got numbers wise, but I think throwing it in the calculator is going to give you the answer you're looking for. But we'll do it both ways. So you have talked to the seller. How much? What's the purchase price? Let's start with the purchase price.
Purchase price is going to be $490.
490. Okay, 490K is the purchase price. How much does the seller owe on the property?
That is, you know what I mean, good question. So they're willing to do, I'll give you the other numbers I have. It's
Okay.
kind of a little in the dark about not all the transparency.
Right.
But so there's a 392 DSCR loan,
Okay.
which with a $98,000 carry, basically ideal for down payment.
Okay, wait,
And
hold
then
on a
the
second here.
DSCR,
I'm sorry, I missed that. So the DSCR loan is for 392.
yes,
Okay. And then what was the other you said?
98,000 carry.
Okay, so the carryback is 98K
Mhm.
for the carryback. Okay. Let's
And
see.
it says like 80 DSCR and then 20 carry.
Right, 80/20. Right.
Now, I will give you the information that I have, which is, it's hard because I think that the house, basically the seller wants like 510 for the property, but the neighboring homes, I wish I could upload the picture and maybe I can just show it from my phone. But here's just my, without pull this up. Yeah, really doesn't show too much other than that. But basically, the home would be, let's see here, the blue one.
Okay. Yep.
So you can see the other homes in the area are pretty low.
Right. So this would be one of the more expensive homes in the neighborhood.
One of
I
the
see.
most more
Yeah,
expensive ones that I think we're getting taken advantage of.
Yeah,
And that's
right.
why you're telling me.
And that
But
brings up a
let's-
really good point, Isaac. We're here to see if the numbers work out for buying zero down in terms of what we fund in the DSCR loan, but in terms of underwriting and what the property's actually worth and what the property can produce, because the DSCR loan is debt service coverage ratio. Basically, they're going to look at what can this property produce. They're going to look at the rentals in that area, and they're going to say, okay, here's how much it can produce. Here's your monthly mortgage cost. Is it going to cover the debt? And so when they're looking for a certain ratio on that, they want to make sure that you're covered. And then you have to go, okay, in addition to covering the DSCR loan, I also have to cover the terms of the note. Right. And so that's whatever terms you decide, and however that comes out to a monthly payment, you have to be able to cover both. So the underwriting is really on you, the buyer, and you have to look at all those numbers and say, okay, is this going to work for me? That's your job, not ours. One of the Zooms that we did was on the roles and responsibilities. You can go back and watch that one once I get those uploaded. But let's just talk about the numbers you've given me right here. Okay. So in this scenario, here's what we've got. We've got an 80% loan instead of a 70% loan. Okay. So that's good. But we only have a 20% seller carryback. And that is just going to cover the down payment. It's not going to cover the closing costs and the fees. So you would either have to come to the table out of pocket with the closing costs and fees yourself, or it wouldn't work. So what you need is if it's 80% DSCR loan to value, LTV there, you're going to want probably like 25, better 30% carryback. If the seller was willing to carry back 30%, now we're talking. You got to have a little more available from the
Actually,
seller on
wants
the
to go
carryback.
15, which I'm like, even worse. It's getting worse.
Oh, no. Then again, now, does that mean you can't do the deal? No, absolutely not. It just means that you're going to have to bring some money to the table. It's not going to be a zero down purchase, right? Because there you need more money to close the deal. So let me show you what that looks like on let me see if I can get out of here. Okay. I'm going to close this out for now. Let me show you what that's going to look like. Where is this? Here
Now,
we
the
go.
other factor might be that like we'd have to get the house appraised, see, and that's going to be
Right.
more on our end before we figure out really is it DSCR.
Isaac, did we set these questions up ahead of time or these comments because you're feeding right into my
I figured
explanation?
it
I
felt
love
like
it.
a step in here.
You are helping me out so much here. Exactly. Now here's the thing, and people need to know this. The DSCR loan, the 80% or 70% or 75%, whatever your LTV is going to be on the lower of the two numbers, the purchase price or the appraisal. If the appraisal comes out below the purchase price, you're only getting 80% of the appraisal. If the purchase price is lower than the appraisal, you're only getting 80% on the purchase price. Whichever one is lower, that's what you get your 80% on. So you're exactly right. That appraisal is going to come into play at some point in this process because we have to know what's that, LTV going to be based off of which number, the appraisal or purchase price. So let me show you here.
And Isaac, we just had this scenario happen with a Morby that we're helping a client with right now. He actually he just texted us on our team, like group chat with him. The appraisal just came back lower. I've got to go back, run those numbers again. He's not sure where he's going to land at this point, because the numbers are really, really tight now. And so we don't know if he's going to be able to move forward or not, right, at this point. But that appraisal, like you mentioned, is everything. So absolutely.
So let's take a look here. Let me show you. I'm going to share this screen and I'm going to show you how you get to our calculator and our LOI generator, which is the other thing I wanted to share tonight. So I'm glad we're heading that way. Let me just do desktop one. Okay. So this is our main website, fundstoclose.net, but mainly you want to get to the funding website. So click on apply for transactional funding right here, and it's going to pull up our funding website, which is fund.fundstoclose.net. So when you're on this page, you can see here on the right, this gives some examples of the deals that have recently been submitted. We're getting all kinds of stack method deals. Actually, I think our stack method deals now, we're getting more of those than double closes submitted recently. There's also some EMD in there. But the thing I want to point to is right here. Up on the top here, you see deal calculator. We're going to click on that. It's going to pull up our stack method calculator here, and we can go ahead and put in the details. So let's put in what we just talked about. Purchase price, $490. DSCR 80%. Seller carry amount is 98. And seller equity, we don't really know, but that's okay. We can leave that off for now. That's optional. Okay. So closing costs, we're just estimating 3%. That could change, but that's 14.7. Our transactional funding fee is only 2.5%, which I hear from other people is one of the lowest ones in the business for this type of deal. It's 2,500 minimum. And then the coordination fee, that's our TCs. They do all of this. You saw how much paperwork there is and how many things move around. And Lars can attest it's worth it to pay that fee to have our transaction coordinators who literally have done over 100 of these deals and know how to get them done to coordinate that for you. It's actually once you get approved, they're gonna want 1,400 of that 2,500 upfront non-refundable because they're gonna get to work and they're gonna start putting together all the documents. They're gonna start getting everything arranged and working with the attorney to get the note created and all of that. So that's all gonna happen up front. And then you can see here what's going to happen is the DSCR loan is here, the down payment is here, the seller carry is here. But the problem is all these closing costs, you would have to come to the table with over 20,000 to make that work. Now, if the seller was willing to carry back a little more, let's say instead of 98, let's say they're willing to come with 110. I don't know if that's going to be enough, but we'll see. Now what's going to happen? Nope, still not there yet. Okay, what are we looking at? 120,
118.
118 to get it exact. Let's do 120 just so you can see what happens here. So if the seller was able to, if they have enough equity and willing to carry back 120 of their equity, now we're in the green, okay? So now your money that comes out of pocket is zero, but this is what goes in your pocket. So this is not bad. You would get 2,000 in your pocket after everything's said and done. The amount that we're going to fund is 118,080. When you submit your request for funding, you would submit a signed LOI, and then this is the amount that you would request for funding right here at the bottom. And then our team would get back to you and look it over and say, okay, let's get to it. Let's get to work. Let's schedule a call with you so we can talk about the deal and talk about next steps, get that relay bank account set up and everything else. But the thing I want to show you is the LOI generator. Now that we know the numbers would work out, if the seller was willing to do 120, now we can go down here at the bottom and we can go generate LOI. So you're going to come down here and you're going to put in some basic information. You're going to put in your email. I'm just going to put in mine for now. You're going to put in your phone number. Okay. The buyer's name. The seller's name. Okay. The property of the address. All right. The seller carry interest rate. So this is something you're going to negotiate, right? So this, you have to kind of talk this out. What are you going to be able to negotiate?
He started off at 4.5, and I think now he's like, well, to make it make more sense, I think he's getting a little squeezed. So he was thinking more like 6 or 7. So
okay, let's just go 7. Amortization is typically 30 years to spread out those payments. Balloon is typically 5 years.
Balloon, yeah.
5, okay. And then you can put any notes you want down here. But what I want to show you is you just put in that basic information and then you click download. And we're going to get right away here this LOI, okay? Letter of intent to purchase. It's got the date, it's got the parties' names, it's got the address, purchase price, DSCR loan amount, down payment, seller financing amount, interest rate, amortization, and balloon payment. And the most important thing, the disclaimer here, the letter of intent is non-binding and intended to outline the proposed terms for the purchase of the above property. The LOI does not constitute a legal binding agreement. A formal purchase agreement will be drafted upon mutual acceptance of these terms. But this is really all you need to get started. If you were to go ahead and take that PDF and send it through DocuSign or whatever you use to the seller, they sign it, you sign it, you have a signed LOI. That's what you would submit right at the bottom of here, submit your deal, and then we're off to the races. Now, what we have seen is, does that help everybody out? Does that make sense how the process works? Great. What we have seen is some of our purchasers are kind of trying to get a jump on the DSCR loan. They're getting kind of pre-approved. They're talking to some of our DSCR lenders that we work with regularly and kind of getting an idea of, okay, here's the area we're looking, here's the price range. What are we looking at? What are the interest rates? You'll find the interest rates on the DSCR loan sometimes are a little bit higher. It just depends on which lender you're working with. So you got to kind of factor that in. It's not going to be your normal 7%. It's going to be like maybe 9, 10, 11% on a lot of those DSCR loans. That's what we're seeing. Can you get a better rate? Possibly. You know, they're going to look at all the different factors and they're going to figure that out. But yeah, to get a jump start on that, if you already know kind of the price range you're looking at and the property type you're looking at and the area you're looking at, you might be able to start that process and get that moving. The other thing that's really important is when you're negotiating with a seller, a lot of times when somebody brings a creative deal, a cash deal, they make a low offer, and the seller's like used to them saying, okay, well, you know what? Hey, we'll give you cash offer. We'll close in 2 weeks, right? This is not a 2-week process. We typically try to tell our borrowers to let the seller know, because I have to qualify for this DSCR loan and because we're doing the carryback note, this is going to be a little bit of a longer process. So expect 6 to 8 weeks. If they know that up front, if you say, hey, 6 to 8 weeks, and it takes 6 weeks, they don't care. But if you tell them it's going to take 4 weeks and it takes 5, they're going to freak out because they expect it to close in 4. So it's all about setting that upfront expectation with your seller and letting them know, hey, this is going to be a little longer process, but we're not going to give you a lowball offer. We're going to give you the price you want and agree on the terms that we will work for both of us. And so that's that negotiation piece up front. All right, back to questions. Thank you, Isaac, for teeing up all those hits.
So I'll continue on with it. Maybe it'll help everybody else out. So
Yeah.
I think the guy is getting basically, like I mentioned, he either got it at auction or pre-foreclosure. So if he did that, you know what I mean, or whatever, I mean, I'm trying to, analyze it from his point of view, or not, without getting him to tell me exactly how much money he's making on me.
Right.
Let's just, you know what I mean, hypothetically, and it doesn't matter. I just need to know that obviously, my exit strategies are co-living. I mean, it's a 4-2 with the option, you know what I mean, to close in two of the front rooms, which would make it 6. Adding a bathroom is going to add roughly, I estimated from a contractor's point of view, about 18 to 24 grand is what I would kind of be able to kind of do that for.
Mhm.
And then possibly close it if I can close in the garage as well.
Yep.
It does have a pool, which is maintenance, which I'm not, the happiest about, but I broke down all the basically the cleaning fees and the, roughly kind of got an estimate of what I'm looking at here. And, with that was basically a mortgage would be around $2,800. The seller carries $500, pool cleaning $150, house cleaning $140, electricity $350, water $120, internet $100. So the total is $4,160. And then pad split, of course, keeps 8%. You know what I mean? So we're looking at $600 worth it after all of that. I'm like,
no,
for me personally,
yeah. I know Lars was very honest with us. He's probably going to break even this first year, right? Because he already knows the numbers were tight, but he's looking at it for other reasons. Like, so if you want the tax benefits, if you want, the appreciation, if there's other things in it for you, right? But in terms of cash flowing, these 0 down purchases don't always cash flow. Go ahead, Lars.
Yeah, I was just nodding my head up and down because you're right. So I think we'll be happy if we have a tiny little bit of positive cash flow at the end of the year. But I mean, you're paying for 2 loans, right? You have your DSCR loan, which is hefty, and you put on top whatever you agree with the seller on the seller carry, and that'll add up. So yeah.
And then what's your plan for balloon payment? You know what I mean? Because you got a plan for that, exit strategy on that, getting out of that one too. So, I'm considering, you know what I mean? Obviously trying to make the numbers make sense. And I'm like, well, I want to be the guy that's selling the deal to me, not the. So I'm like, hold on, back up. He makes the $100,000. I have to do all this headache to hold on to a property for the tax, you know what I mean? The tax benefits, the tax breaks. Plus, sure, I get the equity in the first year, let's say 2 years of your balloon. of, roughly 36, grand, a year or roughly so. And so I'm looking at it all from all angles and then multiple exit strategies. But if I do all the construction to the house and I box myself into a co-living or pad split option, yeah, that's not, I don't like being boxed in. I like, oh, here's 10 options I can exit on. You know what I mean? But
Yeah, the upside of a co-living is obviously the cash flow, but the downside is, yeah, you don't have as many exit strategies for sure. I think, Lars, and tell me if I'm wrong, but I think most people with the 5-year balloon, what they're looking to do is they're hoping for appreciation and they're looking to
Yeah,
refinance
right.
and get a better loan because the DSCR
Right.
loans, obviously, it's going to be a higher rate. You probably could refinance it at a lower rate, which then helps your bottom line. And I agree with you. Yeah. And the other thing, Isaac, I did want to point out, because you're mentioning using this for co-living. Every DSCR lender is different, but what we've been hearing is that most DSCR lenders are not going to underwrite it as a co-living property. They're going to look at
much risk.
the least value, right? Least risk. So they're like, if we take this over, we're not doing co-living, we're doing a long-term rental. So what is this worth as a long-term rental? And they're going to loan on that based on the
Because
lease.
I almost feel if you're buying it at the premium and then you're paying premium, it's almost predatory lending at that point. Like you're stacking up this. I mean, at some point, I don't want to be the guy that
Yeah,
predatory lend
I I
to a.
I think the key is in the terms of the note. And again, it's how motivated is this seller? If this seller is just trying to make a buck, they may not be the most motivated seller. But if you find somebody who needs to get rid of that property and look, I don't need all the money. I just need 50K in my pocket right now. I'll take the rest over time. You can pay me 0% interest. You can pay me no payments for 6 months until you get the property stabilized. And then we'll talk, then we'll get it going after that. Like there are sellers that are motivated. They're going to give you terms that are going to work for you. But again, that you've got to find the right seller.
Yeah.
And that's what
I
I
mean,
feel is
it's
I'm
pretty
not
much.
looking at the right house. There's a middleman,
Mm,
and I'm paying the middleman fee.
Yeah,
Now, if I go out and find that house myself,
right.
way better position. Now the
Exactly.
spread is in my, and I like
Yes.
that deal. Hey,
Yeah,
it was
and
a
that
great relationship. You know what I mean? I met the guy. We'll keep him in the pocket, but pass on the house.
yes,
mm.
I agree with that. Isaac or Lars, what were you going to say?
Yeah, it pretty much depends on the market and what you're looking for. In Florida, the prices went up like crazy in like 2021, 22, and now we're seeing a drop by, I would say, 15, sometimes 20%. So I'm buying a dip, right? And so I definitely expect appreciation in the next couple of years, and then I'll refinance in 4 or 5 years, right? But every market is different.
Yeah, that's great. Well, hey, Calvin, I see you got your hand up there. Let's see what you got. What's your question, sir?
Hey, yeah, well, I was gonna say, I kind of joined the sub too because I was working with a group and basically learned this. I just thought it sounded pretty awesome. And I got a little LOI sign, and then we kind of went to lending, and it was a business, little auto salvage business in New
Okay.
York. Made a bunch of money, but kind of what I was relayed was that we couldn't get lending based on the business itself. So
Mm,
had to like renegotiate from being about 50% down to closer to 20 or 25. And I was just wondering, is that how that usually goes when it comes to businesses, or is that maybe just a lender's preference kind of thing?
yeah, that's a great question. We've had people come to us and say, "Hey, can we do the stack method? Can we do the seller carryback on a business?" And the sticky point with that is always the loan. Because if you get a business loan, almost always they do not allow second position for one. Okay, they're just totally against that. They will call the note due if you get a second position behind them. and they want you to have at least 10 or not more percent of your own money. So they may say, I need to see bank statements for the last 6 months that prove that you have the money for the down payment. They want to know that you have skin in the game when it comes to those business loans. Now,
Yeah.
like you said, if you're buying the property as a property and there just happens to be a business attached, then fantastic, right? That's great. And you might be able to get a DSCR loan that way. But yeah, that is one of the things that we've run into. We're still trying to find a solution for that. We're still trying to figure out, hey, how can we get the right kind of loan that works with our seller carryback, where they're cool with the second position note, but at the same time, it's for the business, not just for the property. But currently, in most cases, it's the property that we're able to help them acquire, not the business. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and that's kind of I had to restructure how I kind of pitched it because I was like, oh, this is like for, you kind of because of multifamily property, the real estate's worth, that's basically what you're buying. You're not always just buying the cash flow there.
Right.
Uh, but the business, even though it had great cash flow and all the terms that were set up, still had us profiting pretty well. He was like, well, we can't actually get funding through the business or for the business. And if we're going to actually make it zero down, I think it was like a $5.5 million business. And the property was only worth about 2.2 or 2.3 allegedly, before appraisal. And yeah, so we just had to drop that down payment by like $1 million, and they were like, "Oh, what the heck, man!" So I was like, "Is that always the case?" But now that makes a lot more sense because
Yeah.
the way it was like for us to get an unseasoned loan, we can only on that lend on the real estate or get lending for the real estate. So
That's it. That's it. And we can do the sourcing. That's why we use the relay bank accounts, because we can do the sourcing, but we can't do the seasoning. We can't have our funds sitting out there for 6 months so that you can get that kind of loan. Now I know Benji is working on some properties where he has it's more like a strip mall thing, but see, he's not going to be the business. He's going to be the renter for the businesses, right? So that's going to work for Benji for the things that he's looking at. It's a different scenario. Um, great. Thank you, Calvin. Thanks for jumping in with that. Anybody else have a question or
Yeah, I was gonna just say Chantel is on here. She's got some numbers she wants us to underwrite. Perfect. I just talked to her earlier today. You ready, Chantel?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. So,
He's gonna pull up a new calculator here real quick, and we're gonna get you a nice.
hold on. I'm shooing kids away. Sorry.
No worries.
Okay. So, go go that
Can
way.
you hear Tim at all? I want to make sure. I think you're muted.
I'm sorry. Okay, I've just pulled up the deal calculator here,
Okay.
so you can see here. So what's the purchase price? What are we looking at there?
Purchase price is $1,395,000. And
Okay.
so I have two options now. I'm just reading the notes from the seller's agent. There are two agents in place too. That's an important piece of this to note.
Yep, we can add in agent fees right here. Agent,
Okay.
real estate agent fee percentage,
So it'd be a total of 6%.
6% on that. Okay, we can
With
add that down
yeah.
here.
Okay.
That's the advanced setting. So I didn't show you that last time, so that's good. Thanks for bringing that in.
Okay. And so the most reasonable option I think that we're looking at right now is essentially the seller, his requirement is he will carry part of it, wants to do more of a short term. His goal is to get moved on because he's retiring and he's selling his entire portfolio. So this particular property, he needs $900,000 out of upfront, and then he'll carry the rest of it.
Okay, let me click on that. 3, 5. So he's willing to carry 495. Now, here's the thing. There's some closing costs in there. So if he needs then he probably will only be able to carry, let's call it 485 instead of 495. Let's call it that. Let's see if it works.
Now hold on.
45.
Okay, so I have
Yeah.
a new one, a new note from the lender on that. I think
This is
for-
happening live, people. We're getting these numbers live as we're on this Zoom. We're
Literally, it
getting
is.
an update. Okay, what do we got?
So they are now proposing that carries 1 million. I come up with the 400,000, and it looks like they might do part of the seller, or they might do part of the most of the closing costs. Okay, maybe.
So they're willing to carry back. They're
One-
willing to take only 400,000
Yes.
and carry back more. Is that
And
correct?
that is the actual amount that he owns on a current loan, is what that is, and so that is going to essentially give him full cash out.
Okay, so the seller owes how much?
400,000. So that's what he wants. He'll carry everything else. He wants the 400,000 so that he can pay off his note.
I see. Okay, so we're just gonna say the seller's gonna carry back. Well, for easy numbers, let's just call it $1 million. I know it's 395, but we'll work with this. Do you
Yeah.
know what LTV you might be able to get on DSCR? Should we just put in 70 to be safe, or what do you think?
Yeah, I have a couple different options because it is a motel, but it also falls under, I mean, it could be, it's a zone C2, but I've done some research and I have a DCSR loan lender
Yeah.
that will do 100%.
Okay. All right, but yeah, we're gonna do the seller carry. So, and
Mhm.
obviously your terms on the note might be better than the terms on the DSCR in most
Mhm.
cases. So you're gonna want to kind of do that as much as possible. Okay, real estate agent fee we got, closing costs we got, and let's see what we got. It looks pretty good if the seller's willing. Now, how much is the seller gonna get if they cover closing costs? So they need 400,000 to pay off their debts. So we may have to lower this a little bit. Instead of $1 million, let's go 9. And let's see if we're still good here. We are. So I think that should cover the closing costs if we make it the carry amount 950K with a 70% LTV on the 1.395. They should have enough after closing costs to pay off their 100,000. They may even get a small amount in their pocket. With the
Actually,
real
he's getting
estate.
the whole million in his pocket, to be honest with you, because the way that's going to work is he is
Oh,
pulling a loan out on refinance.
okay. Maybe I'm
Mhm.
not understanding. Then he's not going to be able to, if he's getting $1 million at closing.
So
he-
the way that, let me read it to you.
All right.
So this is coming from the lender
Mhm.
that the seller uses that is also going to be the one, I guess, in coordinating. Seller will refinance the property at $1 million. And then be in first position with me in second for the carry. And then a down payment of 400,000.
Okay.
And we can note we can negotiate closing costs of agent fees, potentially seller to take care of it, says. So, and then the question of whether or not I have an agent, which obviously, so there's some questions there. I think that he doesn't have all the details too, but
Okay. Yeah, we may need to look at this one, jump on a Zoom with you separately, because it sounds like he's going to be the bank. And if he's going to be the bank, then we can't fund. There has to be a new loan in place. And it can't be
right.
his loan. It has to be your loan. Does that make
Okay.
sense? So if
Yeah.
he's going to refinance and he's going to be the bank, then that would be a seller carryback deal that you would just coordinate with him. So at that point, you might just need to work on the note and the terms and the contracts, which is different than what we do in terms of, if there's a new loan that you're getting. But yeah, no, let's look at it. Let's look at it. I'm having trouble wrapping my head around this because you're saying he's
That
going
was
to refinance it.
right. Well, when I was talking to a seller earlier, we were talking about the fact that it just started looking like it was getting messy. I'm like, this contract is looking kind of, I mean, I can picture it in my head. I see where he's going with it. The seller carry sounds great, but how does it work when he's going to take first position on a new loan as refinance?
Yeah, that's the part where we're having a problem, because if you're going to get a DSCR loan, he won't be in first position. And if he's
Right.
refinancing it and he's in first position, then he's making himself the bank. So where do you get the other amount? You're going to have to get a loan for,
right.
you're going to have to
And
get private.
And where is the leverage of any kind?
Right. And so basically what it sounds like is he wants to be the bank in first position, and he wants you to get private money to cover the rest, because
Right.
you're not going to be able to find a DSCR lender who's going to be
No.
willing to be in second position.
Nope.
And so unless he's
Most of
willing
them
to
want to
be
do
right,
JV. Oh yeah.
unless he's willing to be in second position with his portion, then that's not going to work for our process.
Okay.
What he's proposing is, I'll be the first position lender, and you bring money from like a private money lender to cover your second position loan, and you'll own the property, and you'll owe me, and you'll owe your private money lender.
Right.
That's a viable scenario, and but it's not the strategy we're looking at here, because the DSCR lender,
that feels like it has a whole lot of possible fall downs. I don't see where my backing is on that one. So
again, it's the bottom line is, where are you going to come up with the money?
Right. Well, that part I think I can cover, but I am not willing to take the chance of losing out on $1 million part of it either, because everything's backed by that property. But if he has first on that over 70% of it, then where's my security in that?
Absolutely. You're right.
Okay.
That is exactly right. So thanks for taking that to us, so we could look at that and see, hey, okay, this is a different scenario, but this one's not going to work for our process, and it doesn't sound like it would be very safe for you. So I'm glad we were able to talk that through with you. That's good.
Okay. Sorry.
Thank you, Chantel. Yeah. All right. Anybody else? Other questions or deals or things you want to talk about? We're getting close to an hour here, but we are willing to stick around and answer any questions anybody has.
Also, just want to make aware, I've had several people reach out to me. Make sure you register for our Buying a Zero Down Zoom prior to start time. So if you try to register at, let's just say 40 minutes out or 30 minutes after the Zoom has started, our Calendly, the way that it's set up, will bump you to next week. Does that make sense? So there are several people that tried to get in, but they got in late. And so they're seeing whatever date, June 10th, I think it is, next Wednesday. And that doesn't work, right? So just make sure, I'm just giving you all a heads up, make sure you register before the Zoom starts on next Wednesday, before 4:30 PST time. Okay. And Chantel, if you have more questions or get some more information, you know how to book a Zoom. I can send you the link to book a Zoom with us. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I'll be in touch. I'm just sending them a text saying we need to talk. So
yeah, for sure. Okay, sounds great. Isaac, how can we help?
So I guess the answer to my question was, is that a good deal or not? I don't know I think I've said it wasn't, but I don't know if I heard that from you guys.
Oh no, again,
or is the option?
It's there as an option. The question isn't, will it work as a zero down purchase? Yes. Will you be able to cover the debt? Are you going to make any cash flow? That's where the underwriting comes in on your part, right? So we can say, yes, you can buy this for zero down if the numbers work out, if the seller agrees to the terms that make sense. But you have to say, am I going to be able to cash flow this property? Do I have enough exit strategies that I feel safe? it sounds like, and again, you got to decide for you, but it sounds like you would like to have more options on the exit strategy. You don't want to get stuck with something that is co-living and then go, uh-oh, I'm down 3 renters and now I'm negative cash flow until I can get those renters back in those rooms, right? And so always, underwrite conservatively, including vacancies and that kind of thing. You don't want to get yourself in where you owe 110% of the purchase price, which is what happens here. You get over leveraged, right? The one we looked at the other day was 107, 1.07. So they were 7%, they owed 107% on the purchase price of the property because of the both loans. But again, if it underwrites out and it makes sense to you, we're here to help you. But yeah, that's where you're at with that. Does that help, Isaac?
Yeah, because I mean, if it falls under, I mean, like anything, you buy a vehicle, in the sense of, whatever, and being upside down on it. Nobody wants to be upside down on a property, and I feel that's where it comes into the predatory lending. And I don't know if there's even those rules with private DSCR loans and whatnot. I mean, obviously they would need to cover their butt, but if it doesn't even rent, I mean, my baseline would be if the rent doesn't cover or come real close to that number, then like let's be honest. I mean, what other, you have to get creative with co-living and a few other options to basically make it sense, unless, like you mentioned, the tax, depreciation value comes into play, and that makes sense. Sometimes that 80,000, that's a no brainer. I'm going to pick that property up just to avoid 80,000. There's my money right there. And then, you know what, I'm going to pass it on to somebody else or hold on to it for a couple of years, like Laris, and then do whatever, refinance in my own name. So I get it. Thank you guys so much.
Absolutely. We're glad you're here. We're glad we could help. And yeah, come back. We have great conversations every week. I just want to thank you all for coming in. This has been so fun to like have different deals we're looking at, to have people who are just learning alongside people who have looked at deals, but they haven't pulled the trigger yet, as well as like people like Lars who have closed a deal. And I just got to say, the thing with Lars is he crosses his T's and he dots his I's. He knew all the numbers, right? He didn't go into this blind. He wasn't just like, oh, I'll buy a property zero down. He was very meticulous about this. And it was a longer process, over 6 months in negotiating to find the right property at the right numbers. And he knows exactly where he's at. And so we're saying, hey, everybody should be like Lars in terms of make sure you crunch all your numbers, make sure you've got all your bases covered so that you don't get yourself upside down. That's the last thing we want. We don't want anybody purchasing a property for zero down just to do it and then be upside down or have a problem. As long as the benefits are there for you, and it makes sense for you, we can help you get it done. All right. Well, hey, I think we're going to wrap it up here unless anybody has
Benji has his hand up.
Benji's in the house. All right, let's go.
Benji's in the house. We gotta say hi to Benji.
We gotta say hi to Benji. Hi, Benji.
How we doing?
Doing great.
Hey,
doing great.
I got 2 things, one for myself and one for the group.
Yeah.
I have a buddy of mine who's doing wholesaling in Florida. So if anybody's interested, they could reach out to you guys and I'll set them up with a wholesaler. Only residential, not commercial, but because I don't do residential, I don't mind sharing the information on him, right?
Great.
So he has a lot.
Yeah.
But I have an interesting one that just came in today. It's like how the young lady earlier. I got an owner who just reached out to me today. He owns a gun store in Fort Myers, and he wanted $3 million for his property. He wants to hold 50% of the deal of the owner finance. So I owner finance the other 50%. But on Tesla is his tenant. And but what happened, Tesla wouldn't sign a 5-year agreement. So the DSCR lender wouldn't lend on that. But he's just trying to cash out on 1.5 million for himself. So he has no note, but he's trying to basically have 1.5 million. It's just like that gentleman on the hotel. He was just trying to pull the equity.
Yeah. So again, there's a lot of people out there that are just trying to make money, right? Like Isaac Steele, where it's the middleman that he's dealing with, or Chantel's one where, it sounds like they want to be in control of the money. But Yeah, for these to work, you got to have a motivated seller and the terms have to be in your favor. You know, we talked
Mhm.
about that, and
Yep.
Isaac's giving me the thumbs up there. Yeah, exactly. So
Yep.
appreciate that, Benji. Yeah, it doesn't sound like that one's going to be a motivated enough seller to get the terms that are going to make it work. And that's what we need to have happen. So,
Yep. Yep.
yep. Thanks, Benji. Well, hey, we'll be
All right.
talking soon. I know you got a couple in the pipeline right now, so we're excited to
Yeah.
hear how those come
I'm just
together.
Yeah.
waiting right now. I'm just waiting on the title insurance and in the property insurance to get me a quote back, and I could submit that back to the DSCR to get the full number for that 5% that we mentioned.
Yeah, no, yeah,
Yeah.
let us know when you're ready to pull the trigger.
Yep.
We're here. Okay.
Yes, sir. All
Awesome.
right.
Hey guys, thanks so much. This has been great. I hope you got some value out of this. If you did, invite a friend to come next week. We're going to be doing it again next Wednesday, 4:30 Pacific time. And we usually will send out an email to all the people who have signed up in the past, as well as the new people that have signed up, which will give you a Fathom replay and notes that you can check out. And I'm also going to be starting a YouTube channel, YouTube podcast channel, where I'm going to post all the previous ones so that you guys can go back if you didn't tune in early enough to get maybe you just got the most recent ones, but you can go back to the beginning and watch the replays from all of the ones that we've done. In case there's a specific topic you want to hear about, right? So we'll be getting that up and running as well. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Thanks so much for joining us.
Great seeing everybody.
you.
Have a good night. Of course.